Welcome back to another one. Out in the garage tonight, working on the car. Gonna look into the looking into the heater problem, why the blower motor does not work. There is 2 screws to hold this cover up here on, and the blower motor sits underneath of there. And they're actually bolts, but they got Phillips head screws on this side. And there's a nut on the bottom side. I'll have to get my boy out here to hold the nuts on the bottom side so I can thread those out. And then be able to pull that cover off. And I'm thinking that there's just that a mouse got in there and chewed the wires on the motor, or up by the motor. If you didn't notice already, I already have the dash out, and it is pretty easy to take out. Of course, the first time is a little nerve-wracking, but once you've done it a couple times, it really ain't too bad. So there's only a handful of screws to hold it in. There's 2 screws. And they're just Phillips screws on each side here. 2 on this side, and 2 on that side, and 2 down on the bottom. Otherwise, there's wedge clips up along the bottom of this windshield here. They just get wedged right in there. You just pop it out and it comes right out. Hardest part is probably getting the headlight switch out. You have to pull this rod all the way out, which is a button on the bottom of it to release this, and then you can unscrew this and it pops right out. You undo the throttle cable, or the speedometer cable here, and unplug your cluster wiring. But I've checked the wires going to the switch. I have power coming up to the blower switch, and I can jumper across them, and the switch works. As far as I can tell, the switch works too. Ohmed it out, and I've even jumpered straight to hot onto here, and I got no blower motor. So I kind of pulled the dash out to look underneath here and see, kind of expose some of the wiring and see what's going on, and I can't see anything chewed up in here, so I need to pull that cover off to get that blower motor. But like I said, it's kind of a pain, but they just don't make them like they used to, though. I pulled the dash out of my 2013 Ram 2500, and it took me about 4 hours to get it out, and it was a pain in the butt to go back together. Coming out was a lot easier, but going back together, trying to get all the ductwork and stuff lined back up, was nearly impossible. This is pretty easy compared to that. While I have this out, I'm going to fix my speakers. So hopefully I can get my radio working again, which I think that radio just finally took a dump. But it might be a power issue to it too. I'm not sure yet. I'll check that. But I got 2 speakers in the back that we put in a long time ago, years ago, 2008. And put that radio in there because I had an 8-track player in here when I first got it. And the radio barely worked. You couldn't really even listen to the radio in it. And I did not have any 8-tracks, nor did I have, if we could get any 8-tracks, there's nothing I personally wanted to listen to. So I put the radio in, but I'll fix that while I have this all apart. Here's the wire, though, I ran for my gas gauge to work. That goes right back to the sending unit in the tank. And I'll show you the cluster real quick if I have it out. Yeah, here's the cluster. I wanted to look at why the lights don't work, which I pulled them, and I have good light bulbs in there. I test them, they light up. So I'm not getting power in here for some reason. So I got to trace that out. But here's the, if I can get you this, if I can focus here. You can see where it shorted out before. This is where that gas gauge wire doesn't work, so I had to run that one up here. And the temp gauge too. So this lug here is where the sending unit goes to. And then this is your ground side. And the ground on the temp gauge was shorted out also, so I just grounded it down to here. So we had good ground, so then my temp gauge worked. But I got to look this over. I'm going to take it in the house. I'll look it over. check a couple of these resistors and stuff, and look and see if I can find anything wrong and why I'm not getting power from or to the lights, or see if it's just maybe a wire in here, one of the mesh wires in there. So, but like I said, just gonna work on this and try to get this heater going here while I have this apart, and then get this back together. And then the next video I make on this car will probably be the thing I actually want to do to this car, and explain to you what the goal is with the car. Show you the plan and the setup, I guess, at that point in time. But like I said, I just like to get the gauge lights figured out, and then that blower motor and the radio if I have to. But I have a phone and headphones if I really need music, but not that I really care too much. But it is kind of nice to have a radio. So like I said, I'm not too overly concerned with that, and that could even be at a later date. I just want to get the blower motor working and those lights on that cluster. But yeah, I figured I'd show you guys how easy they are really to work on, and compared to the New Day cars. And but I hope to see you on the next one.